I'm here at GenCon 2015 in the secret room of Fireside Games booth. I'm joined by Anne-Marie De Witt. Anne-Marie, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so
She's
much.
the CEO of Fireside Games and also the designer of this game called the Village Crone, which is coming out like next month, yeah?
September 16th.
September 16th. And we are going to take a look at this game. But first, Anne-Marie, can you tell us about your company? Tell us about Fireside Games. How did you guys get started and how did you get here?
Yeah, well, we like to say if it weren't for layoffs, then there would be no Fireside Games. So it started when, really, my husband played Settlers of Catan in the year 2000, and we both realized, oh my goodness, mechanics for games have really changed, and we both got very excited about, how you can play now. And so he started just tinkering around with, slips of paper, and
nice.
in fact, we had at one point Castle Panic in its prototype stage was in a pizza box, and so we would just bring our games around, to friends' houses on weekends and play, and pretty soon he had about a dozen different game ideas in different stages of development, and I'm like, I think we really have something here. So,
yeah.
And he started working for Steve Jackson Games, started kind of learning the industry, and in fact, we thought about possibly licensing Castle Panic to Steve Jackson Games, but it wasn't a perfect fit in terms of their brand, and when we looked at all the other games that Justin had in development, we thought, we really have our own brand here. So
yeah.
let's go ahead, and we lived off my salary, saved up his, and when we had enough, or just before we had enough, really, he was laid off. It was 2008, and
wow.
so the economy was really tanking, but we went ahead and decided just to go for it. We had the money in the bank, and so we made Castle Panic, and we were told we would probably sell about 750 games between September of 2009 when it came out and December. And we had a print run of 3,500, and we thought, oh my goodness, we're going to have it forever. Well, we ended up selling out the whole 3,500
wow.
in 10 weeks. So, we were kind of, taking it back. So it took us 3 months to get more product in the warehouse, and that was a 5,000 unit print run. That sold out in 3 months. And,
wow.
So it's been, we've been trying to keep up with our own success for a while. And Justin keeps making expansions for games, and he's got variations and some other game ideas that he's been working on, and so we're trying to decide which ones to come out. And then I caught the bug working with him. He would always ask me, he'd be stumped with a design question, and so I caught the bug and started designing. And
is this the first game that you've officially designed as Village Crone, or have you done some more?
No, my first one was Bloodsuckers with Justin. He and I designed that one together. It's a really combative, card-driven game, Vampires Against Hunters. It's
nice.
a pretty vicious game. You have to be able to take a punch if you want to play that game. And then the next one I made was Bears, which couldn't be more different from Bloodsuckers. It's a really fast-paced dice pairing game, a lot of fun, more of kind of a party game. Mm-hmm. And we came out with an expansion for Bears this year. In fact, it's Trail Mix.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and that's just a $5 expansion. And then my next design was actually a hybrid design. It's Munchkin Panic, so it's Castle
Great.
Panic and Munchkin.
Yeah.
So, using his contact with Steve Jackson Games, it's actually Phil Reed came to us and said, hey, why don't we license Munchkin to you? And
cool.
so, so I worked on that while Justin was working on the next expansion to Castle Panic, which is the Dark Titan. It came out in April. So
beautiful.
Yeah. So the Village Crone is my latest one.
Well,
so,
tell us all about this thing. It looks so fascinating. The setup already is just appealing. It's visually appealing. It's a cool setting. What is this game about?
So the Village Crone is a worker placement resource management game with spell casting. So the idea is that everyone playing is a witch. And so this is your, so for example, I might be Elsbeth, and this is my familiar. I have snakes, and I did not put the snakes out here, but
we know you got.
this,
go ahead. Dive in if you need to. We'd like to see some snakes. In the meantime, we can kind of check out these different locations. So one thing that's critical about this board here is that these tiles, these location tiles, can switch positions and be set up different ways, even offset, which we saw, we've been shown earlier, so that you can create a very different landscape every time you play. And that's always a really cool thing to look at with games, is how can you replay these and keep getting value out of this kind of a purchase. And it seems like this kind of just moving stuff around can make a really big difference. So that's a very cool feature of this thing. We've got the forge, the farm, the village green, the tithe barn. Ooh,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
That's where the priest is, obviously. The mill, and then the Lord's Manor. And each of them have a character inside of them. And then I guess we're going to be witches, and we're going to try to haunt them up or something. I don't know what we're going to do.
Well, I'll just kind of show you some of the witches we have. You know, I think some of the best art in this is the witches.
Yeah.
So, so you're playing a witch, and each one has their own familiar. And what you do is you send your familiars out into the village, and your familiars gather resources for you. So we have silver at the Lord's Manor, flour at the mill, fire over here at the forge,
right,
soil at the farm. And so anywhere you have a familiar, you're going to get 2 of those ingredients. So I've got 2 soil here. And the reason you want those ingredients is you need those to cast spells. So inside you can see there are 8 different spells, and each of the spells require a different number of ingredients.
Right, okay.
And then of course you have to say the incantation. It's not a spell without an incantation. So for example, if I wanted to cause 2 of the villagers to fall in love, I would cast the love spell, which requires 2 fire, and then I have to say, from the belly of desire and the laws of attraction, be chained now without distraction. And when you cast a spell like that, you take one of these love tokens, and then whoever I cause to fall in love, let's say it's the peasant and the priest. Forbidden love, that's right, yeah. And then you just put the love token, and so now their fates are joined. If you move one of them, you move both of them.
Wow.
If you cast another spell on one, it casts a spell on both of them. And you can also turn villagers into frogs, like I could use the transformation spell to turn that farmer into a frog. You can also bind locations.
Attendees, there is 5 minutes left until the exhibit hall closes.
Oh, that's like a binding spell, basically.
A binding spell, exactly. So it locks down a location so no one can leave and no one can enter. But if you were to bind, say, the mill, then you can still harvest the ingredients when it's harvest time. So, and the reason you want to cast all these spells is these are your witch's scheme cards. And they're levels 1, 2, and 3. That's also the number of points that you're scoring. So if you kind of look at this, that tells you the different types of spells that are required to complete one of those witches' scheme cards.
I see.
So you have some that don't tell you which spell to use, like this one, get the priest and the blacksmith to the mill. So you have to use whatever means are at your disposal. Maybe they're already in love, and maybe the best way is to move them and use some of your movement points. You get 6 movement every turn. So. And then some they tell you which spell to use. So this says to summon the priest to the tithe barn. So I have to use my summoning spell to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so so these cards, how do I get these cards? And these tell me like kind of my win condition,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So after you complete one of those, then you score it. So I would get 3 points for scoring that. You want to be the first person to 13 points.
Okay.
So
Makes
that's
sense.
how you win, exactly, yeah. And the way you get these is at the beginning of the gameplay is part of setup. You're going to get 1 of each of these.
Okay.
And
is this
then,
secret knowledge?
Yes, it's secret knowledge. No one else knows. Exactly, yeah. So I'm going for each of these, and when I complete one, after I score it and I put it down, the way that I replace it is by drawing the top card in each of these, which is scheme piles. And then I get to look at these, and I get to decide which one do I want to keep in my hand. So I'm not replacing a level 1 for a level 1. I could say, you know what, level 1s are too easy. I want to go for a 3.
Perfect.
And then you can choose that, and then you have player knowledge of the level 1 and level 2. You put those on top. So if you can remember what those cards are, you have player knowledge of whoever selects that card.
Which is key to being a good witch, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you have to have a pretty decent memory.
Yeah, right. And there are protection spells, so if someone is casting a spell and you're like, oh, that's going to screw up this plan I have, you can use 1 soil and 1 of any other ingredient, and then you just say your evil schemes and bad intent now are simply spells misspent, and then it stops their spell and they lose their ingredients.
Nice. So if somebody's over there with a bunch of soil and a bunch of other ingredients, they kind of are able to run the show a little bit. And so you got to be a little careful around them.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the way the tithing works is at the beginning of each turn, everyone tithes. It's part of medieval life. You can't be part of the village without tithing, so you have to tithe a card. And then you move and cast spells, and like I said, you get 6 movement. And then you can cast as many spells as you have ingredients for. And you can do that in any order. You could cast a spell, move a couple spaces, cast another spell. You're not, however you want to move and cast spells is up to you.
And when I'm taking my turn, I'm doing all of this, and then I'm done with my turn, and then you can take your turn, and we keep passing around, right?
Yeah, well, everyone tithes at the same time, and you don't have to do that in order. As soon as you know which one you want to tithe, just put it down.
And
you
goes
don't have
face
to wait.
down?
Face down in the tithe barn, exactly.
Okay.
So you don't know what's in there. So, and then the move and cast spells, you do have to do that in turn order.
Okay.
And if you want to cast a spell out of turn order, you can spend a silver and interrupt someone and go ahead and meet something.
There it is. That's what I'm talking about right there.
So maybe you don't want to block them. Maybe you're like, okay, I like it exactly how it is. I'm going to interrupt, play a silver. Exactly, yeah. So that's all turn order. And then harvest, that's not turn order. It's anywhere you have a familiar, you're going to get 2 ingredients. And then you move the broom, and it's the next person's turn. So.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What a great way to end kind of this quick demo of the Village Crone with the lights dimming as the Friday of GenCon is coming to a close. Anne-Marie, if there's any last thing that you want to say to people out there watching, they're looking at Fireside Games, they're looking at the Village Crone, and they say to themselves, I might want to buy this game. What would you sell them on? What is the number one thing that this game offers to you, why you enjoy it so much, and what you wanted to get across with the design?
I think that if you want a witch game where you actually feel like a witch, where you're casting spells and you're, manipulating the fates of villagers, this is the game for you. And for me as a gamer, when I was playing other witch games, they have a lot of great features and, having a lot of fun, but I didn't feel like I was really casting the spells.
Yeah.
So if you really want that sense, I think this is going to be the game for you.
So good. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here. And thank you guys for watching. This is the end of Friday at GenCon for us. We got so much more coming for you, so stay tuned, and thank you so much for watching.